Hi, I'm Kristen Golay from the Wild Alaskan Company recipe team. Thanks for joining us today. Usually, we have my colleague and teammate Kat, who is an amazing cook. She's on a super well-deserved break, so you guys get me today. We'll be making a very simple but delicious fish sandwich. It's got some bold flavors and really just two ingredients that are going to make it super delicious and maybe even more interesting than your average lunch. So today we're making this curry cod sandwich. So there's two key ingredients to this particular recipe. We have curry powder and then we have a chili paste. A few other very simple basic ingredients, but it's the curry powder and the chili paste that turns this into kind of a regular fish sandwich and makes it this effortless, quick punch of flavor. If you're not a big fan of spicy things, that's totally fine. I'm going to be adjusting this recipe myself because my spice tolerance is a little bit lower right now. So I'm going to show you a couple different options of how you can make this sandwich for yourself, even if you have a milder palate. Let's get cooking. So in today's recipe, we obviously have our Pacific cod fillet. I've already thawed it in the fridge overnight. You can see some of the ice glaze has come out on this paper towel. We'll deal with that a little bit later. We're also going to be using curry powder, garlic powder, just some standard salt and pepper, some high heat cooking oil. I actually usually cook with avocado oil, a refined avocado oil, because it can take the heat on really well. We have some red onion, mayo, harissa, which is a red pepper Moroccan flavor, a bun for your actual sandwich. I think that'll do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the heat on my pan. So I'm going to put it on medium heat. And then I'm going to start to mix the sauce for the sandwich. So like I said, for the sauce, there's really only two ingredients. The first is mayo. Then, like I said, I'm a little sensitive to spicy food right now, so I'm just going to put a little bit of this harissa, although I did get the mild. So it's got more of a red pepper garlic flavor, but I love the color of this. It's so pretty and it adds such a big um, pop of flavor. Since we're going to be coating the fish in a curry powder in a little bit, we don't need to add a lot of hot sauce. Just in case you're spice averse, I did want to give you a couple other options. Mayo with a squeeze of lemon and garlic. That would give you a brightness as well. So with the spice mix, like I said, it's really just these two ingredients. We have garlic powder and we have curry powder. I measured these out. Again, it's just for me today, so I didn't put a ton in there. Just mix that together before you get it on the fish. With your curry powder, I really suggest that you taste it before you put it on the fish itself. Some tends to run a little saltier, some tends to run a little spicier. The thing they all have in common is that they're full of flavor. If your curry powder is a little saltier, then maybe skip the salt when you're prepping your fish. All right, so those are really the two kind of flavorful ingredients we're going to have. We have our spice mix and we have our topping. And now we're going to get to cooking the cod. Before you sear or pan fry a fish, one of the most important things, and if you've looked on our blog or if you've come to one of these live events already, one of the most important things is really to pat the fish dry. And that is going to take off any excess moisture and it's going to get the fish a little bit easier to sear. Once it's dry, you can add your salt and then your spice. I'm going to start with the salt and I'm actually going to put my avocado oil in the pan. All right, so I'm going to do enough oil to coat the pan and I want to put it in there so it has a moment to really heat up. This is kind of the fun part. When I do this with my daughter, we call it painting the fish, whether it's a sauce or a spice, but you want to just rub the fish in there. As I mentioned, I'm not using a ton. If you want a lot of flavor, you can really, really coat this. I'm going to make a little bit more of a mild sandwich right now. And then we're going to just rub it nicely right onto both sides. I love the color that it adds, and it's going to pick up a little color in the pan too. So now we really just are going to get to cooking the fish. Let's put it on. Let's check the oil. It got to smoking pretty quickly, so I'm actually going to turn the heat down just a smidge. My stovetop's pretty powerful actually. Ooh, sizzle. But the seasoning is going to help the fish not stick, and then keeping the temperature at medium is going to make sure you don't burn the seasoning. And if you're cooking any fish in a pan, the reason we often tell you to cook on high is because the moisture on the surface of the fish is actually going to make the fish stick to the surface of the pan. So a higher temperature is going to zap that moisture faster, and it's going to help it to release itself from the pan when it's ready. But because we've patted the fish dry and we've coated it with spice, doing a medium heat should suffice now. And then one other thing I like to remind myself all the time is you don't flip the fish until it's ready to release. So it's sticking a little bit. I'm going to give it maybe one more minute, maybe just 30 seconds, and then we're going to flip. All right, I think that's good. It comes out pretty easily. Yeah. So I really do love the color of this sandwich. You can see this kind of like golden coating is just super pretty, and it's going to be really delicious. Today we're using Pacific cod. It's a great fish for sandwiches. It's really flaky. It's mild. It's going to absorb all this flavor. But the curry rub in general is just great on fish. I would definitely encourage you to use it on any fish you have in your freezer. Oh, that's still just a little stuck. So when it's stuck on there, I'm going to give it another minute to cook. But we're just going to take that right off. Okay. And we're going to start to assemble our sandwich. We have our Kaiser roll, as mentioned. Then I'm going to scoop up this mayo, spread it around our fish. Oh, that looks really good. Excited about that. Tomato and some red onion, a little bit of red onion. This recipe also calls for caramelized onions. When I'm making lunch just for myself, I usually don't take the time to caramelize onions because it takes about 15 minutes or so. But let's see. Do I have a knife handy? I do. For me, red onion also just like really complements that red pepper flavor. So excited about that. Okay, now let's check that out. I see some really nice flaking here. Mmm, that's delicious. The red pepper, the curry powder, and the cod really make a nice combination for a yummy lunch. Okay, that's our sandwich. Well, thank you guys. I don't usually do this, so thank you very much for cooking along with me. It was a ton of fun. Next week, Kat should be back, and she's talking about cod again. We're actually going to do a bit of a cod 101. We're going to show you our team's favorite ways to cook whitefish. There'll be some tips and tricks as usual to make sure you're cooking that cod perfectly every time and getting it nice and moist and flaky. So I hope we'll see you there. And as always, live wild.